then as soon as that happens, then we'll call the meeting to order. So.
Yeah, anything else?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
I had my IT guy help me out.
All right. Thanks, Ron.
Oh, Ron.
Hey,
All right. Are you seeing it, Krista? Mine is still going a little circle, but. Yep.
Yep, you're there now. And just mute
I'm-
that on the YouTube itself so you don't get that feedback.
Where do I mute that?
Okay, if you
Krista?
hover over on the YouTube page, you're on the
Yep.
YouTube page. If you hover over it, you'll
Yep.
see the pause, the play, and the speaker button come up. Just make sure that speaker is muted.
Okay. Got
Just
it.
for on your end. Yep.
Yep. On my end. Okay. Got it. All right. Thanks, Krista.
You're welcome. I'll stick
All right.
around for a few minutes until make sure it all goes fine, and then I'll step out.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Well, it's 5 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order. This is being live streamed on YouTube and being recorded, just so you're aware of that. Full disclosure. We will show that everyone is here with the exception of Cheyenne. We have Dave Bartlett and Chuck Maves that are also joining us, and Louisa, and of course Sam and Troy Steinmeyer. The minutes were from our February meeting because, as you remember, we didn't meet in March. Is there any questions, concerns? If not, could we entertain a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. This is Martha.
Okay, is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, Justin, thank you. If there's no other discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand or do
Aye.
something. All right, opposed, same. Okay, motion carried. All right. Staff reports. Scott is not able to join us tonight, but he did call me last night and did let me know that Mike has retired. So they are hiring in the hiring process, and will let us know as soon as they have new staff hired in the department that will be able to help us out in the at the fair this summer. And I guess I'm going to ask Chuck, since he's the chair of the facilities committee, if he would like to make a few comments at this time.
Things, as we all know, has been very hectic, and nobody really seems to know what's going on because, like you had said earlier, everything changes day by day, minute by minute. So, you know, we're trying to run things the best we can, the safest we can. And I guess basically I wanted to join this evening to see how the Fair Board is going to respond, or basically listen to what Deb has to say from the state and all you board members, because the facilities meeting for this month is going to be canceled or has been canceled. So we will not be meeting as a facilities group. So so basically I'm just here to see what everybody's feelings are, what you found out as to, you know, is the fair even realistically possible to go forward with the time as the time ticks away. And we all need time to get things organized. And if the governor keeps postponing things like he did today, you know, I guess that's why I'm here, is just to listen to see what you can tell me, basically. So that's why I'm here.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Chuck or Dave, did you have anything you want to add as far as the county?
No, Chuck summed it up. It's changing every day, and if we get any positive cases, it's going to change a lot more.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, Louisa. did you want to speak
Yeah.
about extension?
Just a quick update for extension. I think all of you guys know our world changed very suddenly mid-March. We were sent home on the 16th of March and have not had access to the building really much since then. We have our one employee, Michelle, who's a county employee, is going in once a week on Thursday. The rest of your extension office is dispersed across Dunn County in our own homes, very quickly set up our own home offices and have been able to, I think everybody in our whole office has been able to work pretty much full time. So our work is going on as before with the addition of a lot of cancellations and postponements and concern from the public about how things are going to look this summer, as you can imagine. We have had notification that everything is canceled in person through May, and anything over 50 people is canceled through June. So we know what's going on for May and June. The question, of course, then is July, which includes the fair. And I just wanted to say that most people have been immensely kind and understanding and patient with us, as we don't know the answers to everything. So I've been doing a lot of regular meetings and updates, listening to what's going on at the state with our dean, with University of Wisconsin-Madison. Madison has actually canceled everything in person for the entire summer. So they have canceled all of the visits and things that we had planned here are gone, all the camps, pre-college programs, summer school, and so forth. And so that is pretty much all I have to report, other than I have begun to do some investigation into if we were forced to do things differently the rest of the summer, what are some of the options, like something called Goose Chase, which is where everybody individually goes out and completes a mission and then reports back with photographs or video, kind of like an Easter egg hunt or a goose egg hunt. And then I sent Deb and Sam some examples of what fairs have done where they've had to move to partially or completely virtual, in terms of like meat animal auction, animal showing, art shows, and that type of thing. So I will mute, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to entertain them right now.
Okay, thank you, Louisa. There is a Zoom group chat box too. I should have mentioned this earlier. So if somebody does have a question that they want to jot down, you can send that to everyone, or just pick one of us. And I'm kind of watching that on the side here. So as we're doing this, Sam, what's new with you?
Not too much new with me. Besides now teaching the kids at home while doing my school stuff at home, and still working on fair stuff. Still working on getting some judges. And I've been getting commercial building stuff coming in and people asking if we're still doing it. So I've been working with that, and then some of the food vendor stuff too is coming in. So I guess just moving forward with what I can. That's about it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Deb, I forgot to say something. Of course, I didn't have it
Yes.
written down, and therefore it disappeared. And the thing about COVID-19, I find, is tends to wipe everything else out. So the meeting before, the one we didn't have, I meant to tell you guys that I had met with the Dunn County Historical Society. Y'all had requested that we think about having a 4-H fair history presentation or booth or something like that. So I have a very nice lady there who's involved with collections, who showed me some of the amazing stuff she has from 4-H and the fair. And then I brought her 3 boxes of things that we have moved several times through extension. And she will be curating, and the board, the fair board, not fair board, the historical board would be also helping. If we were able to give them a booth for free, that would be very helpful, since they are also a nonprofit. But they would organize, at least for limited hours, some of the valuables that people could come and see. And then we could have some other, like a rotating digital display with photos and some historical information at a booth. I was thinking it would be great if we could put it next to the extension booth, and that way some of our staff could kind of keep an eye on things. And we were also talking about printing a handout for people to pick up for their families. It's about a commemorative, essentially, of the history of 4-H and the history of the fair in the county. So I did that so long ago, it feels like pre-COVID-19 seems like 2 years ago. So Sorry, but I had several meetings with her, and we do have things well underway. If we indeed have a fair, I would expect that we will have a very nice, actually professionally put together by a historian display, much better than my trying to figure it out. And in that, we also talked about interviewing Jim Anderson and Carl Casper. If there are other names of folks who have a long history in Dunn County with a fair, please send me an email with their names and we'll try and get a hold of them, talking about recording some of their memories. And I think that would be really valuable for the whole community. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you, Louisa. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, when Dave asked me a question, I have been sitting in on a lot of calls. What a year to become president of the Wisconsin Association of Fairs. It's like been just crazy. Obviously, all the district meetings were canceled in the spring. The first couple weeks of April, those were all to be held. So we started this phone conversation with one per person on the line because we're maxed out at 100 people that we can put on those Zoom calls. So we have been having really good success. Between 70 and 80 fairs have been on those calls. So we're sharing a lot of good information. So far, there are no fairs that have canceled that are state aided. You probably heard that Colfax Fair has canceled, but they are not a state aided fair. The earliest fair that is state aided is the last week of June. And so far they are still moving ahead with some type of fair. We'll see where that goes for them. There's a lot of different options that we can do. We can do a virtual fair. Fair Entry, who we use for our software provider, has graciously opened up Fair Entry to all people that purchase their entry system product to conduct a virtual fair using their software. The exhibitors would just upload photos and of their items and a description, and it would be, as they enter their projects, that would be attached, and then they would be judged virtually by a judge. So that would eliminate the bringing the stuff together. Obviously, entertainment is the huge thing because you're going to have more than 50 people in a smaller area. Grandstand and free stage events. So those are all things that that fairs are looking at and probably will not happen. So far, most fairs are saying we will have a fair, but again, it will not look like it typically does. Also, I got an email from Stock Show Auctions. They do meat or animal sales, and they are actually doing a program. They're opening it up for free for 25 fairs. Of course, this is a new program for them, so they're trying to get some people in there. So it might be something that the Meat Animal Committee might be interested in looking at, where they can do the auction online, which might be an option if we can't have a in-person meat animal sale. What I'd like us to do is kind of think outside the box in the next couple weeks as a group and come together and put together some thoughts and plans about what things we can and what things we can't do, and how we can transition this into having some type of fair and get the information out there. I know that they're stressing that we use social media, keep people informed about what's going on. One other thing that I'm doing is looking at all of our contracts to find out what our cancellation clause is. So far, we're fine because this is considered under the act of God type of event. So we won't be out that money, which is really good. Any vendors that have contacted us, we've told them that they should, submit their applications. We will collect their money, and then we are giving them the choice of either a refund or holding it over till next year. And hopefully this doesn't repeat itself in 2021. Sam and I kind of talked about it a little bit and made that decision because we had to respond to those without the we couldn't wait. We had to respond to people because they were really wondering whether or not they should send in their information. One thing that I did is the fair book is pretty much ready to go out online. I have told Allegra, who prints the books, to not print it. I canceled the order just because I don't know how we don't print a lot of books, and I think we can save that expense and try it this year and not print any fair books. And everybody can use the online version of the book just to save that expense, first of all. And we can't take them to the extension office. We can't take them into nursing homes. We can't take them into a lot of other banks and facilities that we always set those books. So that's one way that we can save some money. And Allegra has told us that if this changes and we want to print books, that they can get some printed pretty fast, because obviously their business is down also. So I did do that. As you heard today, the governor's new order says May 26th. So we'll keep our ears to the news media and to his communications that come out as we move forward. And let's see. I do have some really, really good news. We talked about last meeting about the milk house and that the compressor is pretty much shot. We've been hearing that for probably the last 10 years, and we don't have a market for their milk, and whether or not we could do some other alternative. And I did contact DADCAP and receive permission to hold a one-day cow show. So any milking cows will be able to come to the fair. They'd come in the morning. We do all of our normal paperwork, checking them all in, and the kids would register ahead of time like they normally do. They would show their cows, and after the show is done, they would take them home. Dry cows, they would stay. So any dry cows would be like normal, like heifers. So we can move forward if we want to do that. The DADCAP has approved that program for us. And when we get down to, I'll give you a minute or to think about it when we get down into like when Deric's time is. If you're fine with that, then we can talk about that, see if we want to move ahead with that project. That'll be some communication that we'll have to get out to the 4-H members. Who knows, we might have more cows at the fair this year if we allow them to bring them in one day and take them back home. The other piece of good news is that we did have a board meeting in March, so I did write the grant for Compeer Financial, which is, AgStar, part of the Farm Credit System, and we were approved. I have just received the notice this afternoon that we did receive our $3,000 grant to use on the grounds and to improve ag buildings. So we'll come up with a plan. Part of that I put in there is to replace the compressor and the bulk tank, but just in case we didn't get approval for that. And other part was put some concrete in the coverall building to where the hogs are, because that would help. That part is what I came up with, and it was kind of a last minute thing because we didn't have a meeting in March. So it's always good when you get some money. And I guess, does anybody have any questions about some of the other things that I've been attending or talking, or any other questions about the pandemic or how we're going to do this? I should mention too that I've been working with Mike Seacroft with the petting zoo. He is down to one event for the summer. All of his other events have canceled. So he is facing a large insurance policy or premium, because usually he insures for a time period of the summer and it covers all of his events. Well, now he's down to one event. So he either said, either I have to raise my rates or we'll cancel. We have the choice of canceling. We haven't signed his contract yet because we're holding on because of the dollar amount, and he can get his insurance up until 45 days before the fair. So we do have a little time to think about that too, but that's something else to think about. And so the trickling down effect is horrible for these small businesses.
Can I ask a question about that, Deb? One of the
Yes.
things we were told in 4-H is to discourage any places where people could be, dealing with multiple contact of the same thing. So with animal petting, I feel like that's I remember how cute it was with people all sitting next to each other and petting the puppies. But that seems like a very natural spot for somebody to cough on each other or to, not that animals are typically likely to transfer it, but just you're touching the animal's touching the next person, like, hand to, how kids are, they're going to touch their faces and
Mhm.
all that. So that actually seems like one that would be really hard to keep people like really conscientious of safety. So that's just my 2 cents worth.
Yeah, we kind of struggle just to have people wash their hands when they leave the area.
Exactly. Even though we have the hand washing stations there, it's just like, oh my goodness, they still walk away without doing it.
Uh-huh.
So, any other questions or comments about any of the information I had talked about? I will keep, we'll keep talking. Obviously, the state will. I have a call tonight. There's even a call next week about the Fairest of Fairs program, what that's going to look like, because a lot of fairs might not be able to hold that contest even, and how that will work out. So a lot of things are up in the air right now. So if nothing else, Justin, did you have anything that you wanted to talk about today?
Not really. I'm just listening along, I guess, and we'll kind of have to wait and see where things go for the next month before we make any calls on the food / entertainment part, I guess, I would think. But other than that, I mean, if we do got to cancel like the free stage and the beer tent and the grandstands, I mean, we wouldn't really be able to charge much to get in the fair because, no one would, want to show up anyways, and mostly be vendors probably coming in, or not vendors, but exhibitors and their families. So my guess is you wouldn't really be charging to get into the fair, but, and at that point, would the county help out a little bit with, some of the cost, because you're not going to have any source of income coming in either. So that's the only kind of questions I got. But other than that, no, that's it.
Okay. Martha.
Justin makes a good point. Is that going to make this a free fair this year, rather because there's no sideshows?
It could very well be, because we might, if we can't have more than 50 people there, we might be having everything virtually and not even having anybody on the grounds.
Wow. Yeah.
Because
then the commercial building wouldn't even need to exist because there's nobody around. So obviously my part
Correct.
wouldn't be happening. So.
Right.
But we won't know that until the end of May, correct?
Correct. And
Okay.
see where we're going.
Okay.
I don't know what your thoughts are, but I'm leaning to make a final decision by probably that last week in June, whether or not we have the fair. I think
Right.
we have to move ahead with plans like putting in a virtual, we can still do the piece with the kids and have their virtual exhibits. At this point, I don't even know if we want to even deal with open class, but just something for the youth. We have worked, myself and Jamie Butke and the Association of Fairs lobbyists have been working on making sure that state aid will stay in place if you cancel your fair. And that did get included with the bill that was just passed by the legislature in Madison. And they've added a clause in there, if it's a pandemic or some kind of an event like that causes a fair to cancel, that they will not lose their state aid, that was good news. I forgot to tell you guys that, sorry. Because that statute reads that if you do not have a fair 1 year, then you cannot ever have state aid again. So that was the big question, is like, so if all these fairs cancel, is it fair that we penalize them and now they don't have state aid anymore? Well, that was added to the legislature, or to the bill that went through the legislature, and it was signed by the governor yesterday. It was tacked into that whole huge bill that was there. So that's good news. So we can still move ahead and do that piece of it.
Deb, we also found out on a 4-H Zoom call that Jason Hausler came in and talked a lot about what we're learning about the fairs. And one of the things he mentioned that I thought was really helpful for our county is that all the pre-fair events such as shooting or dogs or music, clothing, foods review could happen after the fair. This year, they don't have to be before the fair, which is great because
Correct.
basically a lot of those were in May and we canceled the whole season of shooting and we canceled all of our, the earlier reviews.
Right.
And I know our dog project's very worried about having enough time to practice. So being able to do a few weeks later or do it after the fair is actually, for 4-H is really good news.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that was another approval that DADCAP said that we could do. And the good thing is that we have to have all reports in 30 days after the fair. Well, the 30 days starts counting after the last event. So if you don't have an event till October, then our 30 days don't start counting until that.
So are you telling me
have to
that
go
I
with
should
our
try and schedule things later?
Oh, probably not, because I'm sure
No,
kids,
we run
if
into
they do their
school.
stuff, they'll wanna,
Yeah.
we'll run into school. So
If we get to go back to school, I think there's going to be some children who are very eager to do that, to go back to school.
Yep.
So. And some parents
Right.
like Sam who are probably ready to have their little bit of space back.
Yeah. All right. Deric.
Yep. Did I get back on?
Yep, you're on.
I can hear. Yep.
So I guess we have to just kind of move forward like we're having the fair. I agree with what Justin said. It's something I brought up, I guess last year when I first got on with the whole, how we gonna do, I guess with the money part. I mean, as far as charging and how we're going to go about doing that. If we do have a virtual fair, obviously there's no charging, because what are you really going to see? It's correct. It's all going to be online. Is that what I'm understanding? Correct.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it's all a wait and see game from here. I'm very happy to hear about the cow thing. I think that's an excellent idea. I think a lot of people are going to be very happy with that. But yeah, as of right now, I think it's all of a wait and see game. And unfortunately, we're on the waiting side of it. So
yeah,
I got nothing else to report, just because nothing else is going on, obviously, with any other horse meeting, horse projects, rabbits or anything like that. We had sent all that in. So, but yeah, that's all I have. I mean, to me, it's just a wait and see.
Okay. Cheyenne?
Yes.
Okay. I know yours is kind of in a holding pattern too, because obviously we're not going to spend a lot of money on advertising until we know what's going on. And the good thing is a lot of the advertising we didn't start working on until in May anyway. So I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add. Or
no, I don't.
Talk about. Okay.
No, everything's just kind of waiting at this point.
Okay. And Scott, this is your first meeting, and unfortunately, what a way to join the Fair Board and be here for the first time. And of course, sponsors. I mean, how do you, that's another thing. We have the sponsor brochure is available on our website, but I don't know how many people we're going to get that even want to sponsor. I guess we go, if we want to move forward with sponsoring, or trying to get sponsors, and then we give their money back or hold it till next year. I don't know what your thoughts are about raising money or any of the board members. What?
Can we move the fair back at all?
there's a lot of moving pieces with doing that. First of all, our carnival, they travel a circuit. They are here. So far, he's planning on coming to Wisconsin and being here. But depending on what's going on, obviously his early spring shows are all canceled. And so he's still hoping to make, right now he's still planning on making Wisconsin and hoping to pick up those little fairs on the way up from down south. That's part of the moving piece is we could probably do it, but I know we couldn't, the NTPA probably would not be able to be rescheduled. It would depend on Red Cedar races. We have those for entertainment, what their schedule is and how that looks. There's a lot of pieces that come together and why we have it the week we do. So
And the hockey,
if we did
hockey
have it
association-
later, what was that?
And the hockey association would have to allow us to have the grounds later.
Right. Because they start putting ice in September, provided that they can even have a skating season. So we would lose that big building,
Right. My only
commercial
thought was
building.
it goes by months, and maybe, maybe if it moved to like the first week in August, maybe August could be completely different than July.
Good point.
Yeah. Yep. And maybe it's okay. We still have the fair, but we don't have a carnival. We don't, we're going to be bumping State Fair is still planning on having State Fair. They're changing some of their things and working on getting their things ready also. But maybe, that's the first couple weeks in August. So we'd bump up to that. But I don't know if our kids will even be going from Dunn County to State Fair at this point. It's just such a waiting game and an unknown piece. I can, I don't know, any other thoughts about, I hate to not go out and start raising money, but I don't know. We can't go in person, so it all have to be done over the phone. First of all, and I don't know how receptive people are when they're struggling to keep their businesses going. Dave, Dave Bartlett, coming off of an employee at a car dealer that, I know you're retired now, but if this was happening now, would you be anxious to sponsor a fair in your former position? Working for?
The business would be struggling. I talked to Southworth in Bloomer, and they laid off about 4 or 5 people already with this going on. When people quit traveling, business just goes downhill, and people aren't going to fix something that they can go ahead and drive their vehicle without fixing, something that's annoying, but doesn't keep them from driving it. So in times like this, your business it drops right off. So that type of a business is going to be really slow. I guess just about every business is slow right now. Maybe not the farm machinery stuff, but everything else is, I would guess.
Yeah. Yep. So Scott, maybe you and I can just talk on the phone one day and kind of go through and kind of see what we can come up with a plan.
Yep.
So moving forward. Ron, did you have any comments that you would like to make?
No, I'm just amazed that I even got to this meeting.
Yep, I have a comment when you have time.
All right.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess the comment I have is so much of this depends upon the public perception, even when the economy does open up again, is anything safe? Is who's going to be willing to go someplace if they don't think it's perfectly safe, or there isn't some sort of safeguard as far as the getting tested, or even as far as vaccines available or whatever. There's just so much unknowns that I'm not so sure the public is ready for businesses to open up. There is going to be a few people that will go out no matter what because they don't care, But as far as getting the masses or whatever, I'm hesitant to think that the public is really ready for things to open up. So it's
Yeah.
that's why I guess listening here now, this virtual a virtual fair. Yeah, I think that's the way, that looks promising to me. I like the ideas of bringing, the cows in, getting them judged and taking them home. So there would still be the concept of a fair, and it isn't like we're just saying, no, we're just shutting everything down. We are trying to be supportive of the 4-H groups in the county. But I guess I guess I'm hesitant to say that at this time. I don't know if there would be any county support financially because of the whole thing, the way the whole county's going. So I like the virtual ideas that have been tossed around here today.
Yep. Okay.
Hey,
Thank
Deb,
you, Chuck.
Deb, this is Troy.
Yes.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Say for this year, like what you're doing with the cow is, if we could only get like groups of 50 around, would it be something, say like one day we did the swine and talked to the meat lockers, and you brought them in for one day and did that show, and like how all those shows are different days anyway. Would it be something where we could still bring a judge in, say like you have the beef show and he just came in for one day and the beef show that day and they went home, and same with the swine and everything else? Would that be a possibility to keep it, if it's under that 50 or around that?
Yes, and actually, Grant County is doing some legwork on that right now, and trying to put together a plan with their county board approval or their county manager's approval to do something like that. So she's working on getting those plans in place where it might take, it might take 7 days to get that accomplished if you only, because you can't, and you have to watch the 50 people. So there won't be any exhibitors, like grandma and grandpa can't come and see you, but it would be maybe just that family and then their animals, and do one species per day, or per, if it's a smaller group of animals, very likely that could happen, as long as we keep it, under the 50 people for activities. And I will keep you guys posted on what happens with Amy down there in Grant County, and see how she moves forward with that. Right now she's reached out to her judges to see if they would even be receptive to even wanting to travel to the fair. Whether we have a camera set up and the judge sits home like this on Zoom, and the kids go around the ring and they place them that way. I mean, that's another option. So there's all kinds of different options that the state is kind of looking at, and with this virtual fair, trying to do something. So, but thank you for asking the question. Is there any other comments anybody wants to make from the board?
I exactly agree with Troy. I mean, but all of it is a wait and see game. I mean, yep. I love the idea that the kids can still go out and do what they got to do with less than 50 people. But yeah, in the end, it's all about waiting and seeing what's going to happen. But yes, it's something that we could probably look to and say that's an excellent idea, and still get the kids out, still be able to do what you got to do, and keep it official, I guess is the word, or safe.
Yep. I think it would require a lot of good coordinated communication if we do any kind of like hybrid fair, or we're switching up to virtual, or we're doing one species of animals in short chunks with a limited number of people. We're going to have to really do a great job communicating that to the public as well as our 4-Hers. And then also on the fair board side, I think we're going to need to have a lot of hand sanitizer stations, and maybe some requirements that people not gather. I mean, we're going to have to kind of watch it, and who knows? I mean, maybe maybe the whole 50 number is going to disappear. I feel like things change. Like Deric said, it's a wait and see game. You don't know what your numbers are going to be. And You know, with our
Yeah.
dean, it changed, you know, in a matter of days. The ruling about what we could and couldn't do in 4-H switched. And I think they're trying to be very conscientious about communicating that out. But we're all going to also have to think about that in our county of how to get the word out to our community to support what we're doing, but also to be safe. I think, I really do hope we get to be able to get together in whatever manner works this summer, that it's not just gone. You know, I think it's something that everybody really looks forward to.
Well, I guess with the question that I asked, like having the beef, maybe the heifer's got to be in the morning and the steers in the afternoon. But if we could have that judge and move forward, because we have those classes and that kind of set up at the fair anyway, of being, you know, being able to try to move forward with something like that. Because if the kids can't kind of somewhat get together, you know, or have the animals, you know, I know my kids aren't going to probably leave their animals around the front yard at my place in front of a camera. That probably just isn't going to happen because, you know, there's a lot more to it than just that. And so I think it'd be, I don't know how the fair works on your end, Deb, that if we can figure out, well, the swine's this day anyway. So, hey, maybe kind of somewhat try to get it set up. So at least the kids would be able to do that.
Yep.
Well, and maybe we need to,
I think
maybe we need to limit the kids as to how many animals they're allowed to bring. That would significantly reduce, you know, your numbers. Rather, you know, some people bring like 2 pigs or 5 pigs, or the family brings 5. Maybe the family only brings 1 or 2. That would definitely help with your 50.
Or if you had them set up in the barn,
You can make that show ring
top barn and the
huge.
dairy barn, you could really, you could really put them along the wall, and you wouldn't associate anybody or get close, because the ring would be obviously set in the middle or to the outside, where you wouldn't have to challenge that.
Right.
Or
If
you
you put
could
that
have-
huge show ring right down the middle of it, and they can only come in from one side, you can definitely keep it.
Mhm.
Right now it's at 6-foot radius. You know, that can definitely happen with a big show ring.
Yep.
Or you could even have 2 different rings going, because you could have certain classes showing down below and certain classes up above, just to split animals apart too a little bit.
Yep, exactly. Well, if it's okay with you guys, then if you're fine with me, I'll keep on working on seeing what the state is doing. Keep in contact with Amy to find out what she is finding out on her judging, or seeing, you know, putting together little groups and probably having 8 days to get their judging done or whatever. I think they have some open class down there too, which we don't, which helps us. But I'll keep moving ahead on that. I will work with Fair Entry to see what kind of virtual check that out further. I did a little bit of checking on it, and it doesn't seem that difficult. Kids are used to already uploading and sending their homework, I'm assuming, to their teachers and so forth. So it'd be just attaching photos of their objects. Granted, the person's not going to be able to taste their baking, and it'll just be, the judge won't, but she'll have to judge on looks, you know, does it look good or whatever. But you know, there'll be some different things like that, but I'll keep moving ahead with that if we're all in agreement that we want to continue to try to have the fair. I think we should.
I agree. Yep.
Okay. Great thought. Great. I don't think Kathy's on here for the Friends of the Fair, and I don't think Taylor, who was taking over the Ferris, she's not signed on either. The other thing, going down to considerations for actions, is a fair board appointment. As you know, Brandy, now that she's an RN, you can obviously think what her life must be like right now, has resigned from the fair board. And I'm still, I guess I have to ask Deric if he found anything out about Missy, if she was willing to come on board with, for Bev's position.
Missy?
Yeah,
No.
I think you were going to contact Missy Hazen.
Yeah, Missy, no, well, since we had all this, I haven't talked to her, so.
Okay.
And she was involved with the golf outing so much that before that got canceled, I think Louisa, 2 weeks ago, They got canceled. So I had not contacted her because I knew that she was very involved with that. And so it was I did not ask her about it yet. And she
Okay.
had enough on her plate at the time.
Sure. Okay, sounds good. So we will put that on hold for the time being. Anything else that anybody would like to discuss? If not, our next meeting, unless we need to meet earlier, it will be, let me open my calendar here. The 21st of May. Hopefully by that time, we'll have a much better outcome of what's happening in the state of Wisconsin, and we'll be close to opening up some things at least. So May 21st, it will be it will be a virtual meeting again, because we know the state's not opening up till the 26th. So look for communication for that. And if there's no other business or comments, I guess
I have
we
one.
stand to-
Good.
Oh.
Yep. I have one. Is it possible that we wait until the 28th, being that he put it on lockdown till the 26th, being Memorial Day is on the 25th? That's up to you, but I mean, then you would know what he has in order or what he's going to do next.
I agree.
Yes.
Yep.
Is that date work with everybody?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
5/28 then at 5 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay. Great idea. All right. If nothing else, then I guess the meeting stands adjourned. Thank you very much for participating. And
Thank you.
stay safe and fare strong.
Will do. Thank you.
Right.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
You too.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.